What's going on, everybody? This is the second podcast on the MarYoda Podcast channel. Today we will interview Deloaded. Alright, so Deloaded, can you introduce yourself to the public?
Hello everyone, I'm Deloaded. I've played on 2B2T since December of 2016, and I am the founder and leader of Dawnfear.
Alright, when did you first start playing Minecraft?
I started playing sometime in like 2011. I think my first version was beta 1.8.
Okay, where did you find Minecraft from, though? That's...
Friends at school were playing it.
Alright, yeah, that's how many people find Minecraft, actually, from friends and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah, it was just word of mouth.
So, I'm guessing you didn't just straight up started playing 2B2T after you joined Minecraft. What are some
No.
servers you played before joining 2B2T?
Yeah, I spent many years playing on faction servers, actually. And then, as I said before, I came to 2B2T in like late 2016 because me and my friend Hermetic Lock both saw the YouTube videos about the server and were interested in joining.
Alright. When you first joined, how did you escape spawn? What was like joining for the first time on 2B2T?
So the first time I joined, it was right in the middle of the Russia conflict, and so if you didn't have a veteran shield, you would be attacked by veteran players. Yeah. I remember there was one particular time where I actually escaped spawn, and then like somebody in iron armor killed me. Like a fellow rusher killed me.
Okay. So
I was like 10,000 out, and I was at this sanctuary that had like a farm and it had supplies and stuff. And there was another guy online. And he just randomly killed me.
do you remember their name? Like, do you have contact with
Oh
them
no,
or
I have
not?
no idea. Yeah, so I joined and I messed around a little bit that summer, and then I didn't start seriously playing until, as I said, much later in the year.
Okay, when did you establish yourself as a geared player? Like full diamond armor and enchanted, stuff like that.
As like, sorry, as a what player? A what kind of player?
Geared player, like...
Oh, as geared, yeah. So, I can't remember if this was like very, very late November or if it was actually in December, but Hermetic Law came to me and pitched the idea of building a 10th Dawnfear city on 2B2T, and he was a very high-ranking member of the Vortex Coalition. So he said that we would build it as part of the Vortex Coalition. And I rejoined. I met up with some Vortex Coalition members at Spawn and Hermetic Lock, and they gave me some gear, some basic equipment, and then we traveled to go build the first Dawnfear base on 2B, which was Dawnfear 10.
That was your first base, like the first base you were part of since you joined 2B2T.
Yeah, that was my first base.
Okay, what was your first group, though?
Well, I was in two groups at the very beginning. I was in Dawnfear and I was also in the Vortex Coalition. But Dawnfear at the time wasn't really like a group, so to speak. It was kind of just a thing. Like it was like a base that I built over and over again.
Yeah, I know the history.
It wasn't like a group that was in a full-fledged, or that like had its own Discord or anything yet. That kind of evolved later.
It was just some friends trying to have fun in the game.
Right, exactly.
What's your history with Dawnfear? Like, how did you get into that?
So I started it in 2013 with one of my friends in high school. I joined his server and we were messing around, and I just came up with a name for our town, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool name. And when it got destroyed, I'm like, we should just name the next base the same thing, just because I like the name so much. And it became kind of a middle finger to our enemies, or to like the people that were griefing us, because I mean, it was a way of saying that, we weren't going to be defeated. We're just going to keep rebuilding this.
Yeah. I mean, Danfire had a lot of bases in the history, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
what makes 2B2T fun for you? Why do you play 2B2T? Like, what motivates you to play 2B2T?
Well, I've been playing it so long that it's hard to imagine Minecraft without 2B2T at this point. I've tried going to other servers and spending time on other servers. I've taken breaks from 2B, quite long breaks actually, and I've always ended up coming back. There's something about it that, I don't know, you can't really get on
Like
other servers. It's this
freedom,
combination.
freedom.
Well, yeah, it's freedom, but also it's a combination of the extremely low tech nature of like just the old days of just hanging out in single player and having to go gather resources. And it's a combination of that and the extremely high tech world of everyone has hacks and everyone has ridiculous amounts of gear, and
I thought
it's weird.
I thought you would
But
also say like the community of it. Like, what's your opinion on the 2B2T community? Do you think that's is a good factor to the 2B2T server?
I think the community is very fractured. Um, in a way, I think it's quite fractured right now. I think there's a bunch of people that are PvPers. There's a bunch of people that are hackers, and there's a bunch of hackers and griefers, and then there's a bunch of people that are builders, and they're all kind of isolated in their own little bubbles. And there's only a very small amount of interaction between those groups. So some parts of the community are horrible, toxic cesspools, and some parts of the community are much friendlier, much more civilized. I think the server is getting less toxic over time, but I don't think that's natural. I think that's due to the efforts of group leaders like myself and of other people as well, to try to make the server a little bit more friendly.
I mean, just because the server is anarchy doesn't mean everyone has to be like a griefer or toxic and stuff like that. Being
No, it doesn't mean that.
yeah,
It definitely doesn't mean that.
a server being anarchy means you can do quite possibly anything you want. Do you have any upcoming events or projects you want to do?
Yeah, so obviously Dawn Fear has a lot of things that we're working on right now, a lot of secret projects that I can't talk about at all. But we do occasionally host public building contests. I can't tell you when the next one is because it hasn't been scheduled yet, but
Yeah.
it'll be sometime in August.
Okay. Uh, what is your opinion on 2B2T YouTubers like FitMC, FastViz, and Salsi? Do you think they are a good influence to 2B2T, or do you think they negatively impact the server?
Okay, so there's a huge difference between somebody like Fit and somebody like Fast Vincent. Fast Vincent
I'm just saying
is
since
much
they are like,
smaller,
yeah, they're like
but
the top YouTubers. And Barandom,
yeah, those are the
but Barandom doesn't.
those are the top three right now. But I know what you're kind of saying. But
Mhm.
like Fast Vincent, as much as we love him and stuff, I don't think he's actually bringing new players to the server in the same way that FitMC is. I think Fast Vincent is subsisting on a part of FitMC's audience that is particularly more interested in the server. Like, I think there's a subset of Fit's audience that is hyper interested in the server, and those are the people that watch Fast Vincent.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
two levels. Like the beginner level, you join from FitMC, and like if you're interested in the server, you find out eventually of other 2B2T YouTubers with much smaller
Right.
following, but a more consistent following, I guess.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's totally what it is. Also, we do have South C1, and he's somewhere in the middle because he's got a decent number of subs now. I think he has 1 million now.
No, he
Um,
has like 700,000 or 800,000.
he does.
Yeah,
Let me look.
he's close to 1 million.
I know he has a lot. Yeah, he's got 760,000. So like that's a lot of subs. That's enough subs that he's definitely bringing in new players to the server, but not on the same level that Fit is. But in terms of is Fit a good or a bad influence, I think Fit, if without FitMC, the server would be dead right now. There's no question about that. I think part of what makes this server so special and so unique is the fact that it blew up on YouTube and became a massive media vehicle, basically, a media vehicle. And that changed the server. That made this server different than a lot of other servers. And that has its upsides, and that has its downsides. The downside is that people become fake, they become shallow, they become clout chasers, or whatever you want to say. But that's also a positive because it motivates people to do things that you would never see on other servers, like all this ridiculous shit like Team No Trees, or the giant spawn logo, or a giant crafting table biome. Like, there's just weird shit that people do because they're trying to get attention, and it kind of makes the server interesting. I've never been a huge fan of those gimmicks. I've always kind of done my group with a traditional outlook. I've always had ranks and just bases and tried to build a positive community. And I think as the server declines in popularity again, as Fit slows down his upload schedule, I think that will be the new meta of the server. I think the new meta will be a return to the old ways of just actually making bases.
For fun, and not just like getting in a FitMC video.
Absolutely. Because if Fit isn't uploading as much, how are you supposed to get in the Fit video, right?
It will become harder.
It will become much harder, yeah. And I mean, Fit doesn't really make videos about bases either, which I wish he did, because builders deserve way more credit than they're getting. We're the people fucking keeping the server alive. At the end of the day, we're the people keeping the server alive. If builders decided to stop building, then the griefers would have nothing to grief, and so then they would have to leave too. And then the only group left would be like people that want to PvP, which, I don't know how many people those are, but it's not that many.
I mean, there are not a lot of PvPers on 2B2T compared to other servers, I believe, like alternatives.
Yeah, like that server that's specifically for Crystal PvP, whatever it's called.
CrystalPvP.cc or something.
Yeah, that server.
Okay. I don't know if you have any prior server experience, but have you run any servers in the past, like with your friends or any public servers on Minecraft?
Yeah, so before I joined 2B2T, I was an admin on a couple different servers. So I have experience with moderation and community experience, stuff like that. And we have a server for Dawnfear that we use to host the building contests.
Okay, so do you think you're the same level as the current owner of 2B2T, Like, could you run 2B2T?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. You need the hardware and everything, but it could be
Yeah,
fun.
there's no way. There's no way I could run 2B. Even if I could, I wouldn't want to.
Okay. So, 2B2T is not perfect. There are a lot of things that people want to change. If you had the power to change anything about the server, the community or how the server operates or anything, what would that be?
In terms of things that I would have the power to change if I owned it, you mean?
Like if you could change, like remove the griefers or anything. Actually, just
Oh, I
something
see.
you dislike about 2B2T.
Uh, Something I dislike about it. Obviously there are a lot of people on the server who are just toxic and very undesirable. Um, but I don't want to be so draconian that I remove their rights to do that. So I don't know. I wouldn't say anything like that. I suppose the server would be a better place if people were nicer, but I think that's unrealistic. And in order to force that, you have to take away people's freedom. Um, that's a tough question. I'm really drawing a blank on that. Maybe it would be something like FID uploads more frequently.
Or FitMC getting more involved into the actual community.
Yeah, if we go back to like 2017 FID, where he actually played the server. Because basically, I mean, here's the thing, right? And it's hard to overestimate how important he is to the server. Like, a ton of people love to hate him and love to say like, oh, he misrepresents things and he doesn't represent the actual server. And you're like, yeah, that's true. That's completely true. But the fact is that probably 80% of the people playing on the server right now would never be here if it were not for FitMC. So it's just he's the person who's keeping the server alive. And
Yeah.
he probably has a close relationship with whoever the owner is right now. Whoever the owner is, I don't know, but Fit probably has a very close relationship with them. I'm sure they talk regularly.
Yeah, they're basically business partners since FitMC keeps the server up for
Absolutely.
him.
Yeah, they're absolutely business partners. I would be surprised if Fit isn't getting some kind of cut of the Prio Q money.
Or just straight up free priority queue.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he probably has free priority queue, but I bet you he's getting some. I bet you he's getting some percentage of the income from that too. He maybe has, because it's a corporation, of course. 2B2T is a company. I'm sure Fit has some percentage ownership in it.
I mean,
I don't actually know. I'm
buying
just speculating.
buying priority queue. I don't think is a problem to FitMC because he makes like a lot of money off of YouTube and sponsorships and stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah, no. What I meant was I think that he may be getting. Well, I'm purely speculating. I won't. I have no idea.
We're just
I honestly have no idea. But yeah, I mean, the server would be. I think it's a little bit in decline right now because we had the surge in 2020, 2021 of everyone playing because of COVID, and Minecraft had a resurgence in popularity and everything. I think that was one of the best times to be playing the server, and things are slowing down now. The server is definitely contracting in size, and I think if I could change anything, it would be like if we could turn back the clock a little bit and go back to 2020.
The age of hype.
Yeah, the age of hype. That would be nice. Or maybe, ooh, here's a good one. If I could make any change I wanted, right? Snap my fingers, and crystals no longer exist.
That's
That would
like
be so amazing.
yeah. I
I could
doubt
suddenly PvP again.
yeah, I doubt anyone would really PvP like they do right now. And PvP has become automated in my opinion actually.
Crystal PvP's automated?
Yeah, basically you have auto crystal, you have all those features. I
Oh yeah.
believe they are coding bots for like auto PvP and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A lot of it has to do with where you're standing. I think that's where the majority of the skill comes from. But
Just
yeah, I think
guessing.
it would be so cool if like crystals were gone and people had to fight with swords again. Maybe delete totems as well.
Totems?
Yeah. Because then, people could actually die. They get hit with a sword.
So,
That would be so cool.
do you consider yourself to be involved in the 2B2T community?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, how do
I
you
was voted
oh,
third most popular builder the other
on
day.
the Oscars? Yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you get along with the other 2B2T players, and who are some of your closest friends on 2B2T?
I mean, I am somewhat. I would say I'm definitely a major player in the community because I lead one of the biggest groups, but I try to stay out of as much of the drama as possible. So historically, I've been kind of in my own bubble. It's only more in the last couple of years that I've been getting way more involved with the community. But I mean, I've got friends all over. I would say my biggest allies in the community are obviously Hermetic Lock. Orson's been a tricky one. I've kind of had an on and off relationship with him. Sometimes me and him are on good terms. Sometimes we're on bad terms. It just depends. Joey, I'd consider him a friend. Joey Coconut, I'm talking about. And I've got others. There are a couple people who run shops that are willing to give Donfear build supplies and stuff like that. They're very helpful to us.
Partners, actually, they're partners of Dawnfair.
Right. Exactly. And we're friendly towards mostly. We're friendly to basically every group as long as they're actually like a building group. Yeah. There's a lot of good friends.
In your opinion, what is something good about 2B2T not updating to 1.19?
Things don't get leaked, and there's no new exploit.
Yeah, I mean, if you jump just like 7 versions, there will be a lot of duplication glitches, coordinate exploits potentially.
Mm-hmm. I would be okay with there being another duplication glitch, but I think that what's really going to happen is there'll be another massive coordinate exploit of some kind, and it'll ruin everything.
Okay. So I want you to picture this. You just wake up tomorrow and 2B2T is on 1.19 without any new duplication, coordinate, or any of those exploits, and it's just on 1.19. What do you think? Like, would the server die off or would it be hyped up?
No, I think there'll be a huge explosion in. I think there'll be a huge explosion in new players and old players coming back, and I think that will last for something like 5 to 6 months, and then it will go back down.
I mean, new players
without outside intervention. Without.
Oh yeah.
Because what would really happen, if that happened in a vacuum with nothing else happening, then yeah, it would help the server a lot, but it wouldn't be a permanent fix. I think it would help the server quite a bit. But in reality, what would happen if 2B updated? I think Fit would start releasing videos more frequently, and then that would ensure the survival of the server more long term.
As long as FitMC exists, 2B2T will also exist.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And Sal and all of those other people.
Okay.
But what else? What? Well, I'll tell you what I would do first
Yeah.
if that happened. What I would do personally, I would immediately move my stash into new chunks. And I think anyone who has a stash out there, the first thing you need to do if the server gets updated is move it into 1.19 chunks so that it doesn't get found.
New chunks. Yeah. Okay. So you know, like 2B2T has secret rules, right? I mean, you can get prior banned and stuff like that. You know, are you aware about that?
I've heard about it.
Okay. Do you think 2B2T should have those rules? Like, if you build a lag machine, you'll be prior banned or something. Do you think that's a good thing?
I'm not going to comment on that. I trust that the 2P administration team knows what they're doing. I've never had any issues with it.
Okay. Have you been prior banned?
No.
If the next time you logged on 2B2T and you were prior banned, what would you do on your main?
I would send an email to Housemaster.
No, like if you were prior banned for a reason, and let's say just your account couldn't be unprior banned, would you quit or just start on a new account?
I don't know. I'm not sure what I would do. I do have multiple accounts, so
So, sorry about that. Why do you think some people don't like you in the community?
there's a fair number of people that don't like me. I think the majority of them haven't actually talked to me. I'll say that. They've just heard, they've heard rumors or they've heard like negative shit that the Spawn Masons said back in the day when the Spawn Masons and me were fighting. That's where the majority of it comes from. From when it comes from when me and the Spawn Masons had a blowout and they spun up the propaganda mill about, oh, he doesn't build interiors, or oh, he's uh like a schizo or whatever.
So
I do have a tendency to be melodramatic, so sometimes I'll say things that are very, very dramatic and I don't really mean them, and then people will clip it. They'll try to say that like, oh, Deloaded's like a schizo. It's like, no, I just say dumb shit sometimes, like everyone. It's nothing weird.
now that you brought up the Spawn Masons, as a group leader, what are your relations with other groups on the server?
I'm friendly towards any group that is willing to leave us alone, basically.
Do you have any like close allies?
Well, I used to think I've gone back and forth on the concept of allies in terms of even having them, right? Because it is an anarchy server and it's very difficult to control your players. And originally what an alliance meant was like, at least the bare minimum that it meant for me was, if anyone in our group griefs you, we kick them out, and if anyone in your group griefs us, you kick them out. That was what an alliance agreement meant. So I made that agreement with a bunch of different groups. And then the first time something went wrong, one of them immediately just like backed out of it. And then I had this like moment where I thought about it and I'm like, no one's gonna uphold that. Like they'll agree to it on paper, but then when it really comes down to it, they won't back it up. So I think alliances are just a little bit larpy and they kind of don't make sense.
So
And I mean,
can't trust.
like if you ask the Spawn Masons, do you have allies? They're gonna laugh in your face. So I think to be a serious group on the server, you really can't do that.
Okay.
Not that we would ever, not that we would ever grief anyone or like attack any of these other groups, because we don't. We share members with a lot of them. I think I'm on good terms with the leaders of most of those groups, but just the idea of like having an official alliance is a little bit weird.
Okay, so as a, let's say, a 2B2T veteran and a 2B2T celebrity, I don't know how to quite say it, like, you're known in the 2B2T community. Do you have an ego for that outside of 2B2T?
Sorry, do I have an ego?
Yeah, ego about your 2B2T fame, for example.
Outside of the server?
Yeah.
Uh, I guess. I don't know. I probably to some extent, if I'm being honest. I think everyone who ends up with a lot of attention and a lot of recognition, I try to be somewhat humble about it. I will typically answer DMs from anyone. I'm not like an elitist. That's something I've actually despised a little bit about the community, is that with some of the older players and some of the higher ranking players, there's a very nasty streak of elitism. I've always I've always very much been against that. So I would like to think that I try not to be that way. Um,
Do you
I
think?
will tell you though, I played on a different server one time called Stoneworks, and it's just a random faction server. But when I joined it, a bunch of people on that server recognized me, and they like knew who I was because I was in a couple fit videos. So the whole Minecraft community has its eyes on 2v2t, and if something happens on 2v2t and it gets covered in one of the major YouTubers, the rest of the Minecraft community has at least heard of it, and that's a very interesting fact.
Okay. Um, when you first joined 2B2T, did you think like, did you want to be a huge uh, player on 2B2T, or did you just want to have fun and build bases with your friends?
Hmm. Uh, when I joined, so I joined to build Dawn Fear 10 with Hermetic Lock, and ultimately it was the idea of being remembered. I think that got me interested, because on a lot of these other servers, the world resets and everything you've done is forgotten about. On 2b2t, I wanted to build a legacy for Dawnfear that would be remembered, kind of forever, I guess. Like that was the appeal of it. Because this group that I had been doing at the time, it was like a 3-year-old group or a 4-year-old group. I'd been doing it a long time, and I'm like, I want to take this to the next level. I want to bring it somewhere that it can actually survive, and that it will be remembered. You know, history gets recorded on 2b2t in a way that it never really does on other servers. That was a huge appeal.
When you first started getting attention, what like what it felt like being recognized outside of 2BT maybe sometimes, or just seeing yourself in
hmm
FitMC videos and stuff like that. What it felt like.
It's a very intoxicating feeling. Uh, it can be a somewhat dangerous feeling. I think that if you don't know how to handle it, it can definitely go to your head. Uh, I think I don't know. It's hard to describe the feeling, but there is a very particular feeling you get. Um, the first time I was in a fit video, I probably sat there and I watched it like 5 times. I probably watched the same fit video that I was in like 5 times over
I don't
the
blame
first
you.
time I was in it, because I was just so excited. For a lot of people, that is an ambition of theirs, that is a goal, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you pursue it in a way that's honorable. And I think it's an easy mistake, and maybe even a mistake I've made, to pursue that in a way that's dishonorable. If I ever get into a fit video again, I want to do it in a way that was in a way that didn't upset anyone.
So this is actually a pretty awkward question to ask, but when you started getting recognition, did you fear that some people will want to use you for your fame? I think this actually sounds megalomaniac, but I hope you get what I mean.
People would try to add me to their group to give
Yeah,
their group more legitimacy.
or get fame. Yeah.
That definitely happens. I don't really. I kind of think it's funny whenever that happens. Like, I don't really care. Like, people are like, "Oh, join my group. It'll give us more legitimacy." And typically, I'll just join their Discord and just sit there. It's never been a huge issue, but sometimes it does happen.
Has it happened like in a group that actually succeeded, or
No,
smaller group?
no. Typically, the people doing that are the people that are like contacting these famous players and begging them for help are like newer people that really don't know what they're doing, and they just can't they just don't have the tools to succeed, and so they have to learn the hard way, I think, sometimes. But
Starting your own group on 2B2T isn't easy. You need like prior
oh, absolutely
experience.
not.
You need to know how to run a group. You don't just like force people to work for you without like giving them something in return, I believe. I haven't run any groups, and I believe you're more experienced than me on this subject, so correct me if I'm
Mhm.
wrong.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. It's very, very difficult to run a group on 2B2T, especially if you're starting a brand new group, and especially if you don't have prior experience. I mean, I came to 2B2T with prior group leadership experience on a bunch of different faction servers, and even then, I had to learn the hard way. And if you look at the history of Dawn Fear on 2B2T, like the first couple years are just non-stop struggle. I'm someone who's made a lot of mistakes, but I've learned from them.
So don't get me wrong, but being recognized on 2B2T for what you do is pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you ever pursue, like, maybe starting your YouTube channel, posting 2B2T content as a career, like FitMC?
No, I never did. My personal channel is actually not very big. I just have a few videos on there that are build tutorials and stuff. We do have a Dawn Fear YouTube channel, which is it's a decent size. It's not massive or anything, but our channel was never big enough to consider doing something like that. If you asked Herm that, he might have a very different answer, because his channel used to have 1,000 subs, and it had 1,000 subs for like a couple years. And then in the last year or two, he started posting all these meme videos, and he blew his channel up, and he got to like 10K. But I think he kind of ran out of steam after that. I don't know what his plans are, but I talked to him about this, and I'm like, why are you doing the channel so hard now? And he said, because he thinks it's like his big opportunity. But yeah, I've never, I guess I've thought about it, I think everyone has thought about, oh, wouldn't it be cool to be a YouTuber? But, right, exactly.
Uh-huh. So if Don't Fear like just stopped completely, everyone quit, would you start another project or maybe join another group, an established group, and like put build bases with them and work with them?
I think if it disappeared overnight, and they're just if like it just Thanos snapped out of existence.
No, I mean like just miscommunication and people quitting and stuff like that, and it had an eventual breakdown.
Oh, like if it fell apart, I think I would play a lot more with other groups because I am a member of a couple other groups, and I would eventually probably start a new project of my own because I like being my own boss. It's a little bit weird when you run a group for a really long time and then you join someone else's group and then suddenly it's like you're just doing whatever they tell you. It's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, it's being from an owner to like a slave eventually. It's weird.
Sort of, yeah.
So, do you want to give shout out to anyone watching this video?
Not really.
Okay. Thank you for your time, Deloaded. I appreciate it, and hope to see you again. See you.